What up, everyone? Welcome to A Love Like That podcast. This is a special edition right here that we have going on. And this one is for the fellas. This one is, let me just pause real quick. I was very intentional about the people that I had on this particular one here. I talked with my wife. I said, you know what? We've had a lot of great guests come on the show. And I want to do something for the guys. You know, she wanted to do something for the ladies, but I said, let's get the men out here first. So I said, okay, well, let's bring back just, a couple of the guys we had on the podcast. And I want to start with this crew right here that you see and or hear in this podcast here. So to my left, I have Sam Duperville.
What's going on?
I got my man Frankie Glenn.
Yes, sir. What's going on, y'all?
Mr. Drew Gordon.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Jay Stroud.
Happy to be here.
All right, and Brandon Wallington for anybody for volume.
I mean, the man, the legend.
Yeah, all of that, and then some. Twice on Sunday. But like I said, I just want to get everybody here because I felt like every one of you all had a unique perspective and viewpoint. Just not on just marriage, but just as far as just being men, as far as just being, the men that we need to be for not only for our spouses, but for our families and for our own selves. And so I wanted to make sure to have you guys come on. So again, I appreciate you all for coming out. And I'm gonna go ahead let's go ahead and kick it off, man. So we look at what's going on out here in the world, especially when it comes to men, and more so specifically men of color, in relationships, just in life in general, period. So they always say, set the example that you want to see for the next future, for the next generation. So I'll shoot this out to whoever. What was your first example of manhood that you saw?
Okay, I'll say that. My grandfather. Mentioned this before, I'm sure Jay, I don't remember, but one thing I used to admire growing up, and even more so as I got older, is the way my grandfather took care of business, right? So, from Howard's Queens, 202nd Street, the mailman would come on one side of the block, and then he would have to double around and go on the other side of the block, very narrow block. But my grandfather would be sitting outside on the porch waiting for the mailman to come in. That's obviously, no technology back then, we used to have to pay everything, all the bills, by paper. So he was waiting to basically greet the mailman with the bills. He would come in, take his glasses, put his glasses on, write out the amounts, not minimum payments, but at least 75% payments. Start paying anything over, writing checks, having things signed, sealed, ready to be delivered back out by the time the mailman got back around the other side of the street. He didn't play games about, I got time to pay this, you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And he was prideful about it. So being fortunate enough to grow up with, now I wish I was that disciplined today.
Right.
As 43-year-old man, what I'm saying? It's still written. What I'm saying? Y'all take karma? Listen, if you give me pay shit, Frank gonna do payments. That's 2024 mentality. You understand? Well, my grandfather, man, I wish I could have just witnessed it a little bit longer, because so I can completely embody it. I saw it at a young age, and saying when he passed away, I just all I had was the memories. And if that was one thing that I could remember my grandfather about, man, is just taking care of home meant the world to him. He was cut from a different cloth. It's not to say the whole can't do 50-50, that's because my grandmother played the part too.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? She played her role, and that's not a disrespectful word.
Right.
But she played her role, but he played his role as the head, and that's what he did. And so honestly, that was my first example of man. I have a few more, but that definitely was the one that sticks out.
Or respect. Anybody else want to hop in on that one?
Man, when he said when he went away, I was like, I felt bad when he was able to jump on a clear example.
Mm-hmm.
And this is nothing, no diss to the men in my life, but I had so many at one time, and they were all different. My father was 17 when I was born.
Okay.
Right? And my grandfather was in his 40s. And then my grandfather and my grandmother had split, and she had a second and third husband. And then the second one was active in my life, but then my uncle was a year younger than my father, and I was always around him. But all of these, and then my father had like friends that were close that were always around. And then I had older cousins and stuff. So I had all these people all around me in and out all at the same time as a first example. So I really through the early course of my life, pieced it together. And it didn't work out well. It did not work out well. And that's not against them.
Right.
I'm just saying I was piecing it all together because every man was, even the ones of the same age group, they were different. They were all so different. Nobody set a clear example. And I had a very, from birth to 4, I had a very, very transient life. We did not hold the same address for long periods of time at all. Like sometimes within months we was off to the next spot.
Mm-hmm.
So I wasn't able to draw that card. Mm-hmm. So I guess it's really valuable if you can.
Yeah. Gotcha. So for me, I can remember being in my dad had this little pickup truck, back in the day. Like it was like a little small little back seat, and the seat came on the side, so like you really sitting sideways while everybody else faces
Okay.
front. Yeah. So yeah. So him and his partner was in the front seat, and I can remember him talking about a woman that he was seeing. And he mentioned like, yeah, man, I was on with her for the physical, like, and I'm like 6th, 7th grade, so I'm hearing that, I'm like, oh, cool, like, you ain't really gotta be with him, like, you know what I'm saying, like, you can just be with him for the physical, right?
Right.
So like, to me, like, that was like introduction to manhood, like, okay, like, that's how you approach women, you know what I'm saying? And so, his was very positive, like, like what he was taught. But mine was like
space age.
yeah. Like that dude took me up, like, you know what I'm saying? Like I ain't even gotta put this time and energy, like that's what a man is, you know what I'm saying? Man is whatever he wanna be, you know what I'm saying? Like like that was my first encounter. So now I'm very careful, how I speak around my son. You know what I mean? Like I was very aware of what the conversation was like then, so now very particular about what I say.
And people don't realize, people think that just because they're kids that they're tuning everything out. And children are so aware.
They get it all.
Sponges.
Exactly.
Get it all. I guess for me, I'll say I resonate with you a little more. Like I would say I had to piece it together a little bit. I use this term. I say I'm like a Frankenstein when it comes to like manhood. When you're talking about the first view of manhood, because I didn't have father in my life. I did have my grandfather. Thank God he was man of God. He was a 50-year preacher, and I was able to. My mom did a really good job of not bringing a lot of different men into my life. After my father left, she kind of sucked it up. I'm just being honest with you. She was just like, forget it. I'm not going to have a whole bunch of different men coming in.
Right.
But what she did do, which I think was the most important piece, is she brought good men around. Meaning, like, she was friends with, I had uncles that were good men. I had, family friends that were good men. And I think that what I did was I used to study them. I'm gonna be honest with you. Somebody, when you come from a place of lack, sometimes you find yourself like paying extra special attention to the things you don't have. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I would sit, like I'd be at like my homeboy's house, and I just like watch his dad. You know what I'm saying? And I watched not just his dad, but I watched the reaction to him as well. Like if he was to come home and just like watch TV and not pay attention to the kids, or I would listen to how they would talk about them, the good, the bad, and I tried my best. I tried my best to take as much of the good as possible. And that was not even, it wasn't me just judging, it was me just like sitting trying to figure it out, right? And so like I would go to my friend's house and I'd hear them talk about the dad, and it was like, they complain, you know how it is for kids. They're like, my dad's so, it's like, bro, you got a dad, bro. Wow. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got a dad, like, like, look, it be little things like, bro, like, if you get into a fight, like, you can go tell your dad. Like, I didn't even have that to go to. So I was like, I'd have grace for the father. You know what I'm saying? A lot of times, like, like, you at least come home. I haven't seen mine for, years. And so I would just pick up a lot of the different pieces from a lot of different guys that I would interact with, a lot of different men that I would interact with when I was younger.
That's word, man.
Can I throw one more in here? My dad also had his own barbershop, and so going up there every weekend, also saw how other men interacted, women passing by the window.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Men playing video, shooting on pool.
Barbershop put you up on game.
Oh, the barbershop is
it's on game,
boy.
And so like, so I had that vision of men, right? But like what it takes to be a man, like that was different. You know what I'm saying? Because you're only seeing them externally, you know what I mean?
Right.
And how they act around their other men. We get around each other, we putting on, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that experience alone, but being a kid and being a sponge, like I said, and being able to truly witness, firsthand, like what they were doing, you know what I mean? It all created the person that I am, you know what I mean? So it took me a minute to get married. It took me a minute to get a girlfriend, because why? Like, you got all these opportunities. Right. You know what I'm saying?
They for everybody.
Look, can I ask you a question? Because I mean, you kind of have a complete opposite side of, how you grew up and what you saw. How did you filter through that? Like, the thing about it is, you're talking about growing up, seeing men be super manly, you know what I'm saying? And then you growing up in a super masculine space barbershop. That's like locker room. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Absolutely. And so as you're growing up, how did you filter through that? Like, how did you decide, all right, you know what, maybe, because you're talking about putting on. Putting on, that sounds like you got to impress, right? Right. And so when you have to impress, it's like, at what point did you decide, all right, I don't need to do this, I should do that? You know what I'm saying?
Right. I was out of college. When I felt like it was dangerous out there in the streets, and I was ready to slow down. I was ready to find my person. And start a family and the whole shebang, you know what I mean? But high school, college, there wasn't no filtering. Like, Drew, you know what I'm saying? Like, I played football, I played baseball, like, I had nothing but opportunities. So, it wasn't no filter. It was just, that's what I was taught. And so that's how I approached it. I didn't think marriage was a smart idea. I didn't think men should get married. Again, because you have nothing but opportunity, you know what I mean? So,
So that leads me to this question here. How challenging was it to adjust? It's for everybody, to adjust to the marriage lifestyle. Like, because, I think we've all at one point in time, we start feeling ourselves, whatever the case is, they say, we can date this one here, we date that one there, wherever the case is. And so we start to kind of understand how the game works, right? Either we've been on it, or we're just now, we're getting it. But when you say, you know what, this is my person, she's it. How was the transition to this is my person and this is who I'm going to be with every single day? How does single, and not even from that perspective, how does single Brandon, how single Jay, how single Drew, how single Frankie, how single Sam, how much of a challenge was that to actually to remove ourselves from, and we're not saying we're perfect, whatever the case. That's I'm saying like we're whatever, but how much of a challenge early on was it to understand that new life?
You know what? Let's talk about that. Because the thing about that is that first of all, to answer your question, it was very, very, very difficult. It was not. I think I fought it every step of the way. Like literally, you know how you know something's good for you, but you just like, yeah, nah, not yet. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, nah, not yet. I can't. You know what I'm saying? You talk about putting on. Like, I mean, I met my wife. We were in college. You know what I'm saying? I just pledged. You know. It wasn't, it was different. It was different. There was no cameras. Y'all don't have anything on me out here. But anyway, I'm not gonna go down too deep. But what I'm saying is like, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I did dirt. I got caught. Did dirt. Got caught. And then eventually I had to be like, you know what? I had to get to the point where I had to like decide what it is I wanted out of life. You know what I'm saying? Like it wasn't like nobody. It wasn't a real conversation I had to have with my wife. It really a conversation I had to have with myself.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying about like which direction I want to go, and and you meet you meet women that are of substance, and you meet a lot of women that are not. You know what I'm saying? And then you can tell the difference. It's not really I'm not gonna say that it wasn't a tough decision. It was just a level of maturity that you kind of have to reach with yourself. You know what I'm saying? Because you know what good decisions look like, but it's like good decisions have consequences as well. Whether or not you look at them as good or bad consequences.
Positive consequences.
Yeah, positive or negative. Like good decisions mean that you have to leave holes where they at. You know what I'm saying? Like you can't interact with them the way you used to interact with. You know what I'm saying? And those are the things that I had to overcome. And I'm not gonna pretend like it was hard, but it was easy. But eventually, I had to start to choose the person that wanted me to be a better person.
And, okay, because I asked that because just like how you were saying, because there's people out there that were just like how you were back in college, or whatever. That like, you know what? I don't even see how y'all even doing this thing, right?
Oh,
I don't see how you doing this. Like, this don't make no sense to me. Like, y'all, you guys are tripping. So it's a lot more of them out there that don't see the other side of it. They just see the clink, the lockdown, or whatever the case is. They don't understand the other side that comes with it, though. So that's what I asked.
Obligations is what they see.
Right.
But those are like pessimists that look for the negative first anyway. You know what I'm saying? And if you deem yourself, let's say if you deem yourself a hopeless romantic, then you would definitely understand the power of marriage. Because it's the days without that. Have you. That silence starts to get louder. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because you can have, with marriage, once you have like an understanding, one thing, if you're evenly yoked, then you could be able to be alone together. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because sometimes that's me personally, and I know same with you, because he's an introvert, so so I'm not exactly an introvert. However, there are times that I can be still, be together without all of them talking.
Yeah.
Right? And then once you find your person that gets that about you, then you will be the greener grass, so to speak, will start to become even more prevalent and clear to you. You understand what I'm saying? And like you said, it starts with literally the conversation with yourself. I mean, after a while, it's but so the episode just starts to look the same. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I like how you saying that.
Let's
Groundhog Day, essentially, right? Yeah.
Groundhog's Day, and it's like after a while you're like, okay, well, let me slow myself down, because I don't know how you guys' age, but I'm pretty sure we're all around the same age, and that shit just don't get fun. After a while, it actually becomes work. Because now it's two jobs, basically. It's like, you have to appease so many different personalities. Some understand, some don't. and then it just becomes more of a challenge and more of a hassle. So, you know,
I get you.
You know,
it sounds like you got to make a decision.
Yeah.
When the man has decided, that's when he will be ready. Yeah.
And it might not. The reality of it is, the ideal is not where you might be ready. Right? But that matter what you told yourself.
Yeah.
So that's where my answer ends, right?
Yeah.
I wasn't necessarily like him in college, right? I was more like want to have a family, want to be a dad, this, that, and the third, because of that instability. It all changed when my stepfather entered the scene.
Okay.
Like instant stability, family on a family environment. Had my little sister, and now we kind of locked in as like the four, and in moving upward and things like that. So, and it was like life was different, and most people around me around that time before he came on didn't have stability. So people, let alone men or other children or friends, like their lives, like we say, with the other households. So you got a dad, like most of my friends' dad who had them, their dads was fucked up. Like they was mean, they was abusive, they was drunk, they was drugged, they was wild. Like I was like, hell no, right? So my stepfather came on the scene, although I didn't like him because he wasn't my dad at first. I was like, this nigga is not my dad. Like, shut up. And around like age 10, I was like, this dude is alright. And now I love him to death. Like, we always have a great relationship. But so that made me desire the family dynamic. But like he said, it was when I said I do, I realized how selfish I was and how much I did not understand.
Right.
It puts a mirror up to you. It's like, this is you. This is really you.
I spent the better part of my marriage learning how to be a husband. For real.
And I'll say this. I think there's a little bit of grace that's required, right? Even if you want, like, the desire for a family. I was one of those people. I desired family as well. Like, being that I came from dysfunction, I was always up for the task of, like, I'm gonna be a good father. I'm gonna have my family. I'm gonna be married. I was always the youngest in my group of friends. I got married like 25, 26 maybe. I think that's when I got married. But regardless, I was the youngest that was married. But I think that even if you have good examples, your marriage is going to be a learning experience. You're gonna spend, you're gonna spend a good bit of time trying to figure this shit out. Like, just mature, trying to figure out what's going on. Am I doing this right? I think that Brandon said it holds. It's a mirror, right? It's holding a mirror up to you, and you're trying to figure out, it's the time when you're ultimately really seeing yourself for real, right? Because you're saying you want these things. You pay for a wedding, you pay for the ring, you get a house, you do the things, right? And then now you have to uphold those things, right? Day to day, every day, you gotta wake up and I'm a husband today.
I choose to be a
husband today.
That's so interesting you say that, man, because as I give the example of my grandfather, I got an example of responsibility of the man of the household, but I didn't necessarily get the best example of a husband, which speaks to a lot of my love languages today. I didn't see him like affectionate. I never really seen him kiss my grandmother. They didn't sleep in the same bedroom.
Okay.
To this day, physical touch is my least, the lowest on the list of my
love language.
Love languages. It's amazing what you guys said, right? The two of you, when you said you would look at your friends that were fatherless, so to speak, or absentee fathers, and you like, at least with I would look at my friends with fathers, like, you got one, right? At least you got a father. And he spoke to being conscious of what you say around your son. Of course, what you say and how you act might not be the best example. So, to be honest with you, they weren't in a better space than you. necessarily just because their father was there.
I learned that. It's funny because like growing up, you had that insecurity, right? You had that like I have that insecurity. Like damn, like I don't have that. You know, I would always say like, man, I would meet men and they could tell that I don't have a father in my life. You know, they can tell.
Really?
Yeah, man. You'll be, man. Men will strip you down, man. Like they know that you like. They'll be like, oh yeah, I can tell by the way you shook my hand. You don't have a father in your life. And I'm like, and you know, I didn't take offense to it, but I was always trying to figure it out. Like, what is it about me? You know what I'm saying? And it would be, oh, you extra emotional, bro. Like you just the way you move, it just seemed like you raised by a woman. You know what I'm saying? And so yeah, there's a level of insecurity that's associated with that. And what you're saying about like just because they're there doesn't necessarily mean that that's the best example or you're getting the best from them. It's something I had to learn as an adult. Like it's something I didn't learn that as a kid. As a kid, I looked at it like, no, he's there. He's there. Yeah, it's present. And then as an adult, flash forward, couple, 10, 15, 20 years, and I had my own children, and I'm just like, well, I'm here. Like I had children, and I was present. So I thought that I was doing a good job.
Right.
Yeah, I'm here. Like I wake up every morning, I'm here, and I realized, after a while, I was like, you know what? You fight so hard sometimes to be the reverse of what you've been dealing with that you actually turn into what you didn't want to be in the whole time. I was like, oh, I'm just here, but I need to be present. I need
to struggle.
You need to be present. You need to see what's going on. You need to interact with the kids. You need to understand, and this just happened. I'm gonna be honest with y'all. This just happened. My mother-in-law just called me, and she asked me what size shoes my daughters wear, and I did not have the answer. And I was like, "Fuck."
They got that on TikTok. Fathers, who's their doctor?
I got a lot of good. I'm a good father now. I'm not saying I'm not even super subconscious about that. But I was like, damn, I should know this. I need to get back on some of my game. Like, and that's what I'm saying. Like, as a father, you have to be present. And just being here is not enough. Just being in the home is not enough. And that's something I had to learn. Because I didn't have a father. So when I feel like I'm here, that was enough. Yeah. And my wife was like, you need to pitch in a little bit, and Brandon knows how it rolls. I'm not even gonna go in, but I'm hands on pretty well. Yeah, I'm very prideful about being a father because of the way I grew up.
Because you're a good dad.
Yeah. But at the same time, I had to realize that just my presence wasn't. I have to wake up and be there. I have to listen. I have to interact. I have to make sure I'm a part of the day to day and not checked out just because it's not my domain or not the role that I want to play. Whatever the case may be, it's a little more to it than just being, and that's something I had to learn.
That's something that I always think about. They always talk about like the old school parents, whoever the case is, and they're like, how do you know your father loves you, or how do you know this? I come home every day, don't I? And it's like that was what we thought was like the benchmark,
that was the baseline.
Yeah, and that was cool, but I think as men, as we are evolving, as we're progressing in life and what we're seeing for the next generation, we understand, hey, being there is one thing, but like you said, being present is a different thing. It's like it's not what you say, it's how you say it. It's not having a dad in the house, it's what type of dad do you have in the house. It's not having a marriage, it's about what type of marriage do you have with your spouse and those different things. So that leads me to this part here. There's a saying that goes, it ain't easy being a man, but somebody got to do it. How do you guys, if in that situation, how do you guys manage? How do you guys deal with that? Where I have to show up. When sometimes you just want to show up for yourself, because we've all had those moments where it's like, I got enough to give to myself, but I have to for this woman here and for these kids here. How do we get to that point where we show up? How do we deal with that? Where we can build up enough strength to actually show up when we need to.
Yeah, I think as a man, the children dynamic was the nail on, on the head right there. Because I honestly, as a man, that should be the driving force, your offspring. And the example that you set. So it's not easy being a man, but somebody got to do it. I have to do this to keep my children from being without. And if you're a person like me, you don't want to see that being done by anybody else.
Right.
That's one of my biggest fears. When I tell my brother that all the time. My biggest fear is my daughter calling somebody else that.
Yeah, Russell.
Wow. In the future, I'm so thankful for your son.
For your future with son, you know what I'm saying? Catch your future.
Yeah.
That's and for some people they don't care about that.
That was a great line, by the way.
That was. But some people don't care about that. You know what I'm saying? Like some people and I just past the devil his and stuff like that. Favorite bar, Kanye West, feeling better than it, some head on a Sunday
afternoon. Better than a chick to say yes too soon.
Until you have a daughter, that's what I call karma. And pray to God she don't go
breast too soon. Yeah.
And I just I think anybody that have a daughter, you just say you should start thinking about the way you move.
I have to tell you, bro.
Oh goodness. So somebody got to do it, and it got to be me.
Yeah.
That should be an addition.
I like that.
That should be an addition to that saying. Somebody says it's hard being a man, but somebody got to do it, and it got to be me.
Man, I like the addition.
Yes.
I think so often, bro, we lose ourselves in that as well.
Let's talk about it.
Because we all have an idea of what it means to be the man. And, oftentimes, man, we try to please everybody around us.
Bro.
And, when we don't think that we're doing a good job, and we build up resentment. You know what I'm saying? Like, damn, I'm doing everything I can, doing everything that I was, all the rappers that my dads taught me how to do, all the barbers that was quote unquote big brothers' dads taught me how to do, you know what I'm saying? So, if you don't really grow up in a household, or even if you do grow up in a household, where there's a man and a woman, bro, you still don't necessarily learn or know, you don't know how many times your dad done got some ass on your mom, you thinking shit, they married, they happy, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
They're good.
Yeah.
But nah, you don't understand, they just got an argument behind closed doors, and I ain't got to deal with that, which is why he not talking to nobody in the house, you know what I'm saying? So I feel like we oftentimes, man, put so much pressure just on that title, you the man. Women put that title, you the man, even though they don't even have a true idea of what it means to be the man. You know what I'm saying? So
let's put that out there. They have no clue.
You think you know, but you have no idea.
And it's so hard living with somebody that don't know. And I think they, oh my God. First of all, I concur with everything he just said. All of it. Every last bit of it. So the word that kind of stuck out to me when you asked the question is provision. That's not the one word, but that's a word or the pinnacle word for me that crosses over into all things involved with my manhood journey. Me, husband, and children. I've got to think forward, right? And like you said, you get so caught up. And sometimes that forward progress, provision is God has taught me so much about my relationship with Him through my relationship with my children and my wife, especially my children, right?
Yeah.
And if I have to be under that notion that we're the quote unquote high priestess of the house or whatever, high priest of the house, if we're on a mission, if we're trying to achieve, we're trying to go forward, or these are the things necessary to push us forward. She want to go on vacation because all my friends and I'm just going to miss her. You got to think, okay, this is what's coming up. This is what do I have to do to deal with it, prepare for this? Whether she goes with how do I provide for the financial emergency that I know is going to come that she's not thinking about?
How are we one step ahead?
Always,
All the time.
All the time. And, that's where you start to get lost in when you're not pleasing people, you lose yourself. And I learned that I got in touch with that very recently. My wife was out of town for 11 days. Wife and kids. Free myself for 11 days. I'm like, it's about to be on.
Right.
Nigga, I spent time in my bedroom.
Sleep.
Tired. I didn't even use the rest of that house.
I'm tired.
Bruh.
That's crazy.
But then I finally, somewhere around day 7, I was like, oh shit. I'm like, fuck if I wasn't married. And then I said, so then it's like, that's how important my wife is. And then around day 9, I was like, no. That means I'm not walking in purpose. Because my ability to provide and have provision and do what needs to be necessary should still be active even when they're absent. So I had to check myself. That was a mirror moment for me.
Okay.
And so I'm like, damn, a lot of my struggles come with everybody else because I'm not moving with purpose. They're the fruit under the tree. You know what I'm saying? So that's like my thing in manhood right now. I had to learn it's okay. Somebody said earlier, like to put me first, not put me first in the selfish sense, like who am I with God and where am I going so I can make sure I'm guiding the rest of the street. And I had a hard moment with myself, like, oh shit, I'm just out here just.
Well, yeah, bro. Look, the thing about it is, it's like, you know, a lot of things that we deal with as men, especially in marriage and family, we're not prepared for. You know, like we talked about, you know, where we get our men, where we get what was our first, you know, idea of masculinity, and we talked about men that were probably not emotionally available, probably not present, but they provided financially for the household. And you know, I found myself this year, to be honest with you, when you talk about like just, you know, kind of losing yourself. Like my wife lost her father this year, and I never have seen, like, nothing could have prepared me for that. You get what I'm saying? Like nothing could have prepared me for the fallout of what it looks like when she lost. Like that was her protector, her provider. That's the person that, you know, that took care of her before we got married. And I started to see, like, immediately I go into man mode, right? I'm like, I'm here for everybody. You get what I'm saying? I have daughters. They knew their grandfather. They were their grandfather's light. You know how grandparents are. Like if you have your parents have their grandchildren, you know how they are. And so I had to be that, like, that foundation for everybody, right? While going through life and dealing with the things I have to deal with day to day, you know, and this is something I haven't shared with my wife. I don't think she even knows where my mindset has gone within this last year of her losing her father. I don't think she has an idea of it, and it's not to say that she doesn't. It's not to say that she doesn't care or she's not. It's really just that they just don't understand how, as a man, you create that space for them. You get what I'm saying? Literally, this past year, we've had no happy moments. Even if I've cultivated happy moments, I'm talking about like vacations and, you know, whatever case may be. The thought of not having her father creates, you know, it just makes things a little bit more difficult to deal with, and it's on me to keep the emotional level of my house a certain way. And so when I see that she's irritated with the kids, I have to create space between her and the kids. When I see that she's, you know, going through her down moment, I have to create, hey, you know, go get your nails done, go do what you need to do to kind of,
You're a buffer.
I'm that buffer, right? And I don't think people see. They don't even understand that role that the man actually plays. When we talk about provision, we're not just providing finances. We're providing peace.
Yeah.
We're providing a space where you can be emotionally whatever you need to be at the time. And guess what? I think Dr. Warren was talking about how, like, a man we filter kind of through emotions sometimes. You get what I'm saying? You can throw your emotions at us, we can take them. Right, and you can be what you need to be, and we'll hold on to those emotions. We won't necessarily pour out our emotions on you because we know where you're at emotionally, where you're deficient, and so I have to go check out. I have to go therapy. I have to go talk to somebody. But I can't do it in my household because I got women that are emotionally broken in my home.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? Of course, yeah.
You can't be everything for everybody. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna fall apart. Because if you wasn't here, how would they figure it out?
Man, look.
That's like the downfall of when real men, quote unquote, real men we think of.
Mm-hmm.
Like we see a void, we like, gotta fill it. We see a need, gotta meet it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard to resist that urge to do so. And then in the process of that, that's where you lose yourself, because to tend to her emotions, you gotta set whatever you went through that day aside.
Bro, to the side, bro. What are you gonna say when you just came from a great vacation and you turn to the side, you see your wife sobbing? You know what I'm saying? You see her sobbing because she can't share that vacation with her pops. You can't be like, bro, you need to chill. You have to be like, you know what I'm saying? You have to be like, you know what I'm saying? You have to be that person.
Spot.
You have to be that landing spot. And let's just say you had a tough day. She still's going. My kids. I mean, they're girls, so they randomly. My granddaddy would have loved this. It's like, oh, come on. Like nobody wouldn't even do it. Like, you know, but they you know how kids are. Mm-hmm. They like to press, you know, they throw salt on the wound a little bit sometimes. And so
it's not always intentional.
It's not intentional. It's not intentional, but
well, yeah, right. It's not. I said always, but it's never intentional. You know, and grief just holds no boundary. That's the toughest thing. I don't know if any of you guys have ever lost a parent before, but that was a big connection to me and my wife, and actually, you know what I'm saying? It's 2022. My mom passed away. Forget about it. If it weren't for her, like we said, nothing would get done. You know, I probably would be jobless because I wouldn't have the wherewithal to know how to do FMLA properly and all that.
the little things with the woman, that's for sure. The details.
If it wasn't for that wife, he would have probably been on the cargo portion of the plane until he just came from cruise. That one would have lost doing everything.
Right, everybody. Traveling with our wife.
Oh man.
Group effort, making sure I'm okay.
That's wild.
Here's my ID. This is me running around my neck.
Oh man.
Hey, if you see me, make sure I got the same pattern.
That's not to say that I can't take care of myself. Like when I travel for business, clearly I travel. I do my thing, blah, blah, blah. But leisure travel, all those, the detail,
itinerary, all that.
I've been playing games by myself, like traveling shit. Yeah. Man, if I was to go like Greece, like that, I'm
down there with some swim trunks and one outfit.
Right. That's, you know, honestly, but that just, in all seriousness, you know, so now you were the support system for your wife.
Yeah.
You can concur with that. It's had a similar situation as well. So that is where I commend y'all, because I'm overly emotional. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
They say that like about cancer. I'm a cancer man.
Yeah.
They say emotional hunk, but
exactly.
But it's just like, you know, we care how much. Not I dread the day because I know I don't have nearly the, you know what I'm saying?
I got you.
You know, the strength that she had when mom passed. However, back to it's hard being a man, but somebody else got to do it. But it got to be me. Because I am going to have to channel that energy.
Yeah.
It's not an option.
It's not an option. And I would say, just bigging up the women real quick, I'm going to big up my wife real quick. I remember after my father passed, when my dad died, that was, I would say she was the real MVP because she helped my mother out so much. She helped my family out so much with the process, getting things together. While I was the one who was trying to keep it together for everybody else. We had the service at the church, then we had the dinner, repast, whatever we're gonna call it, here at the house. And I knew what it was. I knew I had to step up, right? That was me. My mother-in-law said, Brandon, she said, you're doing such a good job of being so strong for everybody. But I want you to find time to have time for yourself, because I know you're doing a lot right now. I said, I appreciate it, and because I knew she meant well. But I said, in all honesty, your daughter has helped me out. And those times when I'm in the middle of the night in the bed crying my eyes out, and she's the one that's being there for me. And she's helping me through that moment when I need to have that release. And so, it's give and take. And so when you have a supportive spouse who was able to help you through that, it allows you to still be who you need to be in those moments. And so, big ups to you, babe. I know you're watching this. Thank you. But yeah, seriously.
What it speaks to the important, like when we really get to the essence of what is important in marriage. You get what I'm saying? Like that's what it speaks to, the essence of the marriage that matters. Because people make it seem like, oh, there's nothing important about marriage. Like this, it's just a contractual obligation. It's business, right? You hear that bullshit all the time, and it's like, bro, we're talking about real life that you get to experience, not alone.
And life is going to life.
In life, the storms are real storms. This is not a test.
And that's not to say that people can't have life partners without marriage. But what would be the reason for
that? That's the whole name. What's the reason?
If you plan to spend your life and be life partners with each other, you understand what I'm saying? To be able to hold each other down in the time of need. You can get all those intangibles, then why wouldn't you get married? That was my question for them. What was the knock on?
Different reasons. Sometimes people don't have a spiritual or religious foundation or connection to marriage. So if you don't have that, right? Yeah. You don't have a relationship with any God, for example. Yeah. Even if it's not Christ or whatever, right? Now, the only way to look at marriage is contractual. And if the contract doesn't make any difference what you're doing, then like, why do it? You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. So for me, personally, my purpose in getting married was directly spiritually connected. They were preyed upon reasons and purpose that are actually, through the grace of God, somehow still being fulfilled. So
thanks for watching. For more video content, subscribe to our YouTube channel and subscribe to our podcast on all streaming platforms.